Well, some gun owners in California are coming together to protect what's left of their property and their neighbor's property, and basically saying to Gavin Newsom, screw your gun control and your position on looting because you've essentially caused this issue. And that's what we're going to talk about today as I kind of give you some details that have led up to the point where looting is almost like a full-time job. You might not even know some of the details that we're going to talk about the looters and the extent they will go to in order to keep themselves from getting additional charges, how they've adjusted amounts for inflation, right, for these crimes to happen, and how some Californians are just getting plain sick of it, including gun owners that are protecting their property. It's actually an exciting kind of wave when you look at it from start to finish. So I encourage you, watch the video all the way through, and I'm curious to see, what are your thoughts on California? Do you think that the tide is shifting in that state? Because I really think it is, and maybe you don't right now, but after the video, maybe you will. I don't know. Whatever your opinion is, leave it down below. Let's go ahead and jump right in. Now look, when it comes to politicians that absolutely baffle me, that they are in the position they're in, Gavin Newsom tops that list. He's right up there with like your Pelosi's, your Schumers, your AOC's, just for lack of better words, whack job.
The most dangerous words in the English language are man up, be a man, and don't be a sissy.
Yeah.
Like, really? Those are the most dangerous words?
Yeah, I think a lot of things can be explained in that respect.
That's super
Yeah, I think
dangerous.
it's
I
a
don't totally
weak,
get
that's a weak thing to say. It's weak.
I mean, really, there's nothing moderate about the guy. His position on so many things is just terrible, right? I mean, we could make 6, 7 videos just on terrible positions and ideas and ideology that Newsom has. But one of those has been their position on looting. And it's not like Gavin Newsom has come out and said, hey, looting is totally fine, you're not going to be prosecuted. But they kind of have. Now, it used to be, and I think this was established, I think, in the early 80s, where if you stole anything over $400, right, your charges went from misdemeanor to felony. Well, they decided to raise that amount in 2014. This was voted in, by the way, and so, they raised it to $950. They more than doubled it because they're like, well, we got to adjust for inflation. Well, no, you don't. Thieves are some of the worst people out there, and I know, a lot of us say like, yeah, one time I stole a pack of bubble gum, when I was young, and I got in trouble for it. Okay, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people that know better, that will legit steal from you and have no remorse over that, right? Now, there's some people that steal to feed their families. I get that, but there's also things called jobs. And these things called jobs actually prevent you from having to steal from other people. It's one of the worst traits that I think anybody can have. And so if I'm looking at this, I don't care what inflation says the number should be. I would probably set it at $50 or maybe $25. If you steal basically anything of value at all, I would make it where it would be a felony. You know why? Because that actually deters people. If you don't think I'm correct about that, well, look at the situation that has happened ever since they've raised it to $950. Remember the stories that we were seeing back in 2022 of literal trains being robbed of packages, and you'd have like all these empty boxes, Amazon and online orders from wherever, and you just have a bunch of empty packages everywhere, and people just go off with it. Now, I didn't know this, but Union Pacific actually has their own police force. They have like 32,000 miles worth of track that they monitor, right? And so in correlation, back in 2022 with the LA Police Department, they arrested and convicted, I believe, 100 individuals, but those individuals, they get held for like 24 hours and then they're released. So Union Pacific is like, you guys are promoting this kind of stuff, right? There would be thieves that would go into retail shops and they'd bring a calculator with them and they'd make sure that they don't go over $950 because that Proposition 47 that was passed in 2014 said that if you steal anything over $950, yeah, you're going to be facing some felony charges. But grand theft, forgery, fraud, all kinds of crimes, as long as they were under $950, you were good to go. So you have robbers. Oh, okay. All right. There's a PlayStation. Oh, hey, what you got over there, Timmy? Got a controller, boss. Okay, cool. Hey, Joe, what are you taking? I got some t-shirts there, boss. Oh, okay. Hey, boys. $949. We got to get the hell out of here. But there is hope for this stuff. Now, there's so much more I could go into just this specific topic. But to keep it simple, Californians are getting tired of this, and they proved that this past November by passing Proposition 36, which will now reverse a lot of what happened in Proposition 47, increasing the penalties for committing certain crimes, including theft. Well, guess who opposed Proposition 36? Yep, Gavin Newsom. He told people, hey, I understand, what's going on here, but just make sure you know what you're voting for, because this only applies to illicit substances, which it doesn't. It applies to theft as well. And that's why, cities are trashed. And, just ask the people in LA and Sacramento and other places that have seen such a crazy increase in retail theft and crime. And then, of course, the city gets trashed, right? So Gavin Newsom goes out there when he thinks maybe he's going to throw his name in the hat for future political gains. Then he goes out there and he's got a vest on and he's cleaning up trash and, oh yeah, we're going to clean this thing up. And then you never see anything from it again. He's an actor, right? I mean, he's in California. He's an actor, and that's what he's doing. He's playing a role to try to make people think that, hey, I am tough on crime and we're going to fix this whole thing. Well, California's kind of went to hell under his watch. Now, some of this started before he ever came along, but he certainly hasn't helped the issue. As a matter of fact, I think he's made it much worse. It's unfortunate because it looks like such a beautiful place. I'd love to take my motorcycle out there and spend like a week, but I refuse to go anywhere where I cannot carry a firearm. I refuse to do that. So yeah, my trips to California will not be anytime soon. But when you look at the way California is not only voting for Proposition 36, but a big part of that state voted for Trump. I mean, he really made a lot of California red, right? So I think amongst people moving and all this kind of stuff, they're getting tired of it. Well, what about these armed citizens? Well, they're actually going in. They're ignoring evacuation orders. I mean, literally, some of them were out there, like a day or 2 days or whatever in advance, like, taking water hoses and wetting all of, their lawns and their property and putting out garage fires and just trying to, firefighters would come along and try to help them out and then firefighters would leave. And so they're trying to protect their property because unfortunately you have people that will take advantage of this situation when people's homes are evacuated. It doesn't matter at that point because you kind of know that, hey, this is a state where I can get away with more. Not to necessarily say looting is not prosecutable, but I can definitely get away with more and suffer way less penalties because of the state that I'm in. And like I said, these neighbors are actually protecting themselves and protecting their neighbor's property to the point where they've actually renamed Altadena to Texadena because they're like, hey, we've got a little bit grittier because people are actually walking around with guns. It's not a sight that you typically see in California. Back in 2018, you had the motocross guy, Kerry Hart. He actually posted a picture of like 12 people that were armed in front of a sign that said, looters will be shot. And that was in California as well. So you notice kind of a trend when Californians' backs are against the wall, they react just like every other American. It's actually pretty promising, right? And there's so many gun owners in California. It's easy to kind of think of them as not really willing to protect their rights. The problem is they just get voted out by these big cities and people that don't understand guns, and they love gun control, and people like Newsom and your Pelosi's and all that kind of stuff. They're the ones that end up getting hurt. But there's a lot of great gun owners in the state of California, so make no mistake about that. And you see that come out, again, when their back's against the wall. They act just like the rest of us will. They're going to protect what's theirs. And it is really promising. Just the way Californians are voting, the tide is shifting. I just hope they can get somebody in there, man, that will clean that place up and, I know it's bad to say, but restore the rights, give the rights back to their people, because they really have some crazy restrictions. But it is super promising to see what's going on, man. So I don't know. I like this story. I don't, but I do like the fact when gun owners come out and they say, okay, enough is enough. We're going to protect what's ours. It's actually pretty amazing. So that's just my opinion, though. I want to hear yours. Let me know what you think about this situation. Do you believe California can finally turn the tide? Do you think there's actually a red tide that's turning in California? Let me know what you think down below. If you like what I do, consider subscribing. See you in the next one. And as always, hold them down.